Now, this is done, my friends, in question 6. He says, do I understand then that death, whether it is by natural means or accidental death or suicide, all deaths of this type would create the same after-death condition, which would avail an entity, to its protection from friends? Is this correct? Very good question. Here, Ra says, we presume you mean to inquire whether in the death experience, no matter what the cause, the negative friends are not able to remove an entity. This is correct, largely because the entity without the attachment to the space-time physical complex is far more aware and without the gullibility, which is somewhat the hallmark of those who love wholeheartedly. However, the death, if natural, would undoubtedly be the more harmonious. The death by murder being confused, and the entity needing some time-space in which to get its bearings, so to speak. The death by suicide causing the necessity for much healing work, and, shall we say, the making of a dedication to the third density for the renewed opportunity of learning the lessons set by the higher self. So, let's talk about death, shall we? The question, first of all, is phrased or surrounded by the idea that you could be lured into negative time space. This is a key thing, very important thing to talk about, because there's so much nonsense out there that can be very worrying, confusing, scary even. When people talk about death and, the prison planet, God, how many times have I heard that? The prison planet of Earth, and you're gonna be stuck here because you're an entity. You're not an entity. You don't exist. This is the law of one. The law of one doesn't talk to you as a person. There are mind, body, spirit complexes. This is true. This is what we express ourselves as, but not what we are. We're not the mind, body, spirit complex. Sorry, you're not spirit. Apologies. You're not the soul. You're not human. You're not any of this. You are the creator. See? And you feel that. Check in yourself. Do you feel yourself of mind, body, spirit complex? No. You experience it. Do you feel spirit? No. You feel it. Are you a soul? No. That's a poetic view of what things are. How things manifest. You simply are. And that being is the only thing there is, just like everything is. If you are and everything else is, then you are that. It's quite simple. Now, I'll go back to the prison planet and on all of that nonsense that I continuously hear. But the question is if you can be lured, the mind, body, spirit complex, be lured. See, I say you as a concession of language. That mind, body, spirit complex which you, my other self, represents is living, it's exploring. It's so beautiful to know that you're talking to yourself. You see, not to yourself as the human being, but to your pure self. It's lovely. It's like within a dream, you're talking to yourself. You just know it. There is no me. There's only me. There's no singular me. There is only me in the dream. So, yeah. Can he be lured through death? And Ra says, well, we presume you mean to inquire whether in death experience, no matter what the cause, the negative friends are not able to remove an entity. So they're not able to take the entity into time-space, negative time-space. Ra says this is correct largely because the entity, without the attachment to the space-time physical complex, now that you are not attached to your physical complex, is far more aware and without the gullibility, which is somewhat the hallmark of those who love wholeheartedly. I'm not sure if just... You see, this is referring to the incarnated being, right? Who through the veil seems to love wholeheartedly, or are they referring to certain people who are very loving? I'm not sure. But what they're saying is simply that when you die, then you're not as gullible as you would be if you were incarnated and you still had an attachment to your body. I guess that is the wholeheartedly love that you have to your body and to your existence. So because of that, you're not so easily tempted to go into negative time space. The free will of the creator through the fractal mind that it represents at the moment of death. So Ra says, however, the death is not, if natural, would undoubtedly be the more harmonious. We're going to describe the different types of death here and what happens. Speaking of the guides and the angels, ancestors, friends, all aspects of the self, aiding this mind-body-spirit complex to transition harmoniously to the time-space configuration that is needed for review, healing, and all of that, which is what happens in death. There is healing, there is review, and then there is the configuration of the next incarnation, programming, all done with the higher self. So if you die naturally, then this is the most harmonious one. People who die naturally, just in their bed, whatever. Both my parents, actually, who died recently, died naturally. They weren't, surrounded by, equipment and things in the hospital. Nothing of that sort. They died completely. My mother died on her bed, and my father died in a car, not a car accident. Just his sister was driving him back to the capital, and he was very, very sick already, and he died there. Just both of them. I mean, they just died without making a noise. They just simply left. That's the most harmonious thing. They look very peaceful, So that's the most harmonious one. I'm actually very grateful that my parents died that way. I feel it. I love it. Then is the death by murder, being confused, and the entity needing some time space in which to get its bearing. Very sudden. Imagine the people get shot in the head and they just simply find themselves out of body. One moment their consciousness is focused in the perception of what they're doing with their physical body, and suddenly they're out. And their focus hasn't changed. They just seem like something happened. Okay, what happened? I need to know. And so that takes some time space. The death by suicide, causing the necessity for much healing work and the making of a dedication to the third density for the renewed opportunity of learning the lessons set by the higher self. Healing is very much needed by suicide because to me, I don't have much knowledge on this, but just to me, in time space, you sort of cherish this opportunity to be incarnated in a physical body. And the time it takes, of course, for an incarnation to flourish, to flower, to develop, to blossom. That's such a great opportunity, but sure, the reason why we have so many suicides in our planet is because we have no idea. I mean, we are here thinking that we are a person. It's actually fascinating how the Orion group, which of course loves to do this and incentivize people to commit suicide, is that you see, even within the spiritual communities, there is a lot of this feeling of not wanting to be here anymore. People say, oh, I'm a wanderer. Why would I be here? I want my life to end already. I want to go back to whatever planets they're imagining that they go to in a fantasy world. That's not what happens. Like I said, you don't exist. What exists is just your purity of mind, body, spirit complex, your balanced mind, body, spirit complex. And guess what? You will not be able to balance it in any other realm as much as here. So why would you want to leave? Why would you want to go? I mean, this is the most beautiful experience that you're ever going to have right now. And if you can't see it, then I don't blame you, but it's part of our ignorance and lack of education as to who we are. What is this reality? And it's, that's a real pandemic that is happening in the world. Billions of people infected by this idea that we are a human, that we are an animal that can cease suffering by taking their lives. Not really. What this creates is just another huge distortion in the mind-body-spirit complex that needs to be experienced and reconfigured and healed. This is why all entities, angelical, ancestors, and so on, are so readily available to avoid these thoughts. But not even that is available to the evolving mind-body-spirit complex here for the soul, if I can use that term. It's not available. We that's the real pandemic, the ignorance of reality. But yeah, suicide will cause this because once you wake up, this is a dream. And once you commit suicide and you wake up from the dream, you see the missed opportunities. You see how unbalanced the mind-body-spirit complex was, and higher self needs to heal all of this. Now, higher self is you again. It's an aspect of you. So again, it's just a matter of education into the nature of reality, which it's even fine if we go into, say, 4th density understanding, not even 3rd density, but or even 3rd density. God, it's even that, just thinking that yes, I am the son of God, and God is almighty and all powerful and all loving, and fine, even that's fine. People die with this in mind, and that's beautiful. You have a reason to live for your family, for whatever. There's a lot of healing that needs to be done in this planet over time. I'm not saying people need to be healed, far from me to say that, but there's potential healing that will happen over time, and it's all about us talking about this reality and living this reality. Actually, that's the real permeation of information to the collective consciousness. We incarnating it, not giving it away, not predicating it, or none of that. We, us, cherishing this life, enjoying every moment, from your family's hugs to the way you walk to how you go to sleep, or how you even enjoy your dog. See, it's a celebration of life.